Okay, shalom everybody, and Shavua Tov, and B'ezrat Hashem, we approach the month of Nisan. B'ezrat Hashem will be a new beginning, Hitchadshut, and everything else. A lot of amazing things happening. He teaches Rebbe Nachman that the month of Nisan has a gravitational pull to bring people closer to Hashem through the tzaddikim. He has a whole lesson on this, lesson 70, which is based on last week's parsha. At the end of Pekudei, so it says that the Jewish people brought before Moshe Rabbeinu all the various parts of the tabernacle, and only Moshe Rabbeinu could erect it, because it was humanly impossible to lift up the krashim, the poles, and everything. It was a lot of heaviness of gold, big pillars of wood covered with gold. It was heavy. And Moshe Rabbeinu himself said to Hashem, how is it possible for anybody to lift it up? So Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, Rashi brings this down, you pretend, do as if you're lifting it up, and I will make sure that it happens. In other words, you do your part, and then I will also continue it, that it should be happening. So that means basically Moshe Rabbeinu, with the help of Hashem, he built the Mishkan. Hashem wanted the Jewish people to see that Moshe Rabbeinu was building the Mishkan. So Rebbe Nachman says that's how it is in every generation. The tzaddik of the generation, the tzaddikim of the generation, who are the aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu, they erect the Mishkan. The Mishkan we translate in English as their tabernacle, right? But Mishkan means Shekhinah, that the dwelling place of Hashem is by the tzaddikim. This idea that Moshe Rabbeinu, he builds the tabernacle, the Mishkan, means it tells us on a practical level that you want to find the divine presence of Hashem, it's by the tzaddikim. This means, again, you can be an art scroll Jew, an online Jew, a person who learns Torah and goes to synagogue, but you don't have an actual tzaddik in your life. So what factor are you missing? You're missing the divine presence. Reb Noson, in the beginning of his life, before he discovered chassidut, he was very envious of the elder chassidim, because he was from a family of educated people. He himself was highly educated in the Torah, very well off, wealthy, but came from a family that they were opposed to the chassidim with the excuse, with the ta'ana, that the chassidim don't learn that much. They're more emphasis on davening and simcha and dancing, but not learning Torah. And the Litvish approach, the Misnagdim, was learning. Rebbe Nachman said, I want to bring together the best of both. I say davening and learning and davening, to do both, okay? Still, at the beginning, before Reb Noson discovered Rebbe Nachman, he was very jealous when he saw elder Chassidim, disciples of Rav Zusha of Anapoli, of the Magid of Mizrich, and he saw how they were davening. He saw how they were davening Shacharit, Mincha, Arvit. He saw how they were so connected, and he was so jealous. He says he's learning Torah day and night, very involved in Torah, especially after he got married. He married the daughter of Rav David Tzvi Orbach, who was a big Talmid Chacham. His whole life was centered around Torah study, and yet he wasn't feeling the connection. It's one thing to learn the Torah, it's another thing to apply it. Like Rav Noson once said, the difference between the Chassidim and the non-Chassidim, the Misnagdim, is the difference between a cold and warm knish. It's both the same food, but one tastes better. The one that's warm tastes better. So everyone has the Torah. No one's Chas Shalom inventing a new Torah. The Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu is by the Baal Shem Tov and his students, by the Vilna Gaon, by the Sephardic Chachamim, by the Kabbalists, okay? It's the same Torah. The question is the taste. Do you feel it? Okay? And today, especially now, where people are so detached, and the majority of Jews in the world are still assimilated, that's the majority of Am Yisrael. What's missing now? You would wonder, how could this have happened? Where did we go wrong? How did assimilation overpower Am Yisrael? There was Torah, there were yeshivot everywhere, in Europe, in North Africa, in Israel, in Asia Minor, okay? There were yeshivot all over, Torah study all over, and yet the pogroms and the assimilation got the upper hand. What's missing? What's missing is the feeling, the taste. You can pass over Torah, as an intellectual study, and emuna based on intellect, fine. But if there's no feeling of the connection, you have nothing to keep the person connected. If everything is just laws and studying and devotions and what's the word in English? A ritual. It's a ritual devotion ceremony in synagogue. I remember as a child, by me, I was really turned on by the movie The Jazz Singer. There was a movie in the 1979, 1980 with Neil Diamond. It was a sad story. It was a story of the son of a rabbi, a chazan, who had musical talents, and he wanted to sing in the world. And it was a whole conflict between his father. His father disowned him. And in the end, they made amends and everything. So it's a story of a son who didn't find satisfaction in Yiddishkeit. I think it's based on a true story even. And yet he went out to the world, and his father was upset, but in the end he had to bend to make amends with him. The question is, why didn't he find that warmth in the Torah? That's what's missing. What's missing is the warmth which chassidut comes to bring to the world. If it's Rebbe Nachman's teachings, the Baal Shem Tov, like Reb Noson saw, it's to bring that warmth, that connection, okay? So on a practical level, when we say the Shekhinah is found by the tzaddikim, Moshe Rabbeinu, he builds the Mishkan, and this is how it is in every generation, it means a divine presence, which translates as feeling Yiddishkeit, not just doing everything. I do Shabbos, I do this, I do that, fine. Bravo, Chazak Baruch, you have Olam Haba, you're going to win. But are you connected? Is there a connection? Is the heart involved in everything? That's the Shekhinah. That you want, you need to find the tzaddikim. You can have everything. You have all the shas in the pocket, Shulchan Aruch, Kabbalah, Midrash, Zohar, Tanakh, everything. But if there's no feeling, there's no connection, there's no divine presence. There's not a presence. When you say divine presence, automatically it initiates, it means a feeling. Divine presence. It's not like an intellectual thing. There's a Shekhinah here, okay? In most cases we don't see the Shekhinah, but it's here, so we have respect. In the synagogue, the Shekhinah is by the synagogue. By the kotel, there's the Shekhinah, okay? So now, whether you feel it or not, we don't know, but there you know for sure the divine presence is there. But I also want to feel it. I want to have that feeling. The feeling of connection to God. You want that? You need the tzaddikim. At the caliber of Moshe Rabbeinu, who erect the Mishkan in every generation. So he teaches Rebbe Nachman that what the sages teach, that Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the month of Nisan, in particular the first day of Nisan, is Rosh Hashanah Lamlachim, which means the New Year of the Kings. On the halachic level, simple level, it means if King Solomon became king at the beginning of the month of Adar, his second reign of kingship, of sovereignty, starts 1 month later. So he became king, let's say, on the 1st of Adar. So 1 month later is Nisan. It's considered the second year of King Solomon's reign. But it's only a month. We don't care. Nisan establishes if it's last year or this year, the new year. Okay? That's pshat. But now on a deeper level, Melachim, king, the Gemara says, Man Malchei Rabbanan. Who are the kings of the Jewish people? When we don't have a physical king of the Davidic dynasty right now. So in place of the physical kings that we had, who was a leader, who was supposed to be a tzaddik and a representation for the whole Am Yisrael, the king. He had to be a tzaddik. Normally, the Jewish kings who were righteous were examples. King David wasn't a regular guy. He was big. King Shlomo was big. King Chizkiah was big. Yehoshaphat, they were all big people, okay? Shaul HaMelech was big. Okay? We don't have physical kings today. So instead, who represents the kingship of Hashem? Who is the representation? The Gemara says, Man Malchei Rabbanan, the rabbis, the sages, the tzaddikim, they are the kings. So in that, the Gemara says that the new year for the kings is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It's coming to say that Nisan is a time where there's a renewal of the kingship of the tzaddikim, representation of the tzaddikim. So because of that statement, Rebbe Nachman teaches that Nisan has a drawing power to draw people a connection to the Shekhinah. The month of Nisan, in particular, the power of the tzaddikim of the generation, they're able to give the Jewish people, commensurate to how close they are to the tzaddikim, they have a feeling of divine presence. It's a special month, and again, it's dependent on how close you are to the tzaddikim. Reb Noson wrote a beautiful prayer, prayer 70, and in it he says, I should be zocheh to have hitkarvut gadol tzaddikim. I should be zocher to have a big closeness to the tzaddikim. Not like, yeah, I believe in tzaddikim. Yeah, I go, I go to graves of tzaddikim and I go get brachas. No, not general surface level. That's good. But you really want the real deal. It's something that you have to push everything aside and run after tzaddikim. Reb Noson in the book Tzaddik, Chaim Moharan, he brings on the story to illustrate how people in the past had such emunah tzaddikim. Rebbe Nachman had a disciple who was, let's say, over 50, 60 years older than him. The Magid of Terovitza, Rav Yekutiel Landau of the city Terovitza. Terovitza, I was there once, I was by his kever, is about 25-minute drive east of Uman in Ukraine, central Ukraine, east of Uman, mamash a straight line on the highway that cuts from below Uman. There's like a highway extending. You go straight 25 minutes, you hit the city Terovitza. There's his grave, they made a monument. Everything was destroyed by the Nazis, of course. What else is new? But they put a monument there based on the testimony of old Ukrainians who remember, the kever used to be here, so they know approximately where the kever of the Magid of Terovitza is. So this Magid of Terovitza, he was over 70 years old when he became a follower of Rebbe Nachman, who was like 20-something, 22 years old, young. And this man who was a Rebbe of 88 villages, he was a Rebbe, he was a Magid. Magid means like he had a type of authority over 88 shtetlich, little villages in eastern in Ukraine, okay, in mid Ukraine, eastern Ukraine. He was close to the Baal HaTanya. They say he knew the Baal Shem Tov. He was like a big guy, this Magid of Terovitza, but he saw the truth in Rebbe Nachman and his teachings, even though he was much younger than him. He once saw a manuscript of lesson number 3 of the Likutei Moharan, which talks about the power of melody. He was so impressed. He said, this is even greater. I mean, it's scary to say this, but he said it. This is even greater than the Tikkunei Zohar. This is greater than the Tikkunei Zohar. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's biggest masterpiece is the Tikkunei Zohar. It's 70 chapters on just the first word of the Torah. Bereshit, 70 chapters explaining the first word. And Rebbe Nachman said that if he would have wanted to, we can make a book on every next word. Bereshit, bara, 70 chapters on bara. Elokim, if he wanted to, he can make a book on each word of the Torah. If he wanted, but he did the first word, opening word of the Torah, 70 chapters, okay? And the Maggid said that this lesson from the Likutei Moharan is bypassing the Tikkunei Zohar. Crazy, okay? So this Maggid of Terovitza was very attached to Rebbe Nachman. He suffered a lot of opposition by his chassidim. Who are you? You're over 70 years old, and you bend yourself to this young man, and he had a lot of opposition against him. He said to Rebbe Nachman, they're shooting arrows at me. Expression. But I'm not leaving you. I am not leaving you. You can't hide from me. I see your greatness. I'm stuck with you. Okay? So, the story goes that when Rebbe Nachman traveled to Eretz Yisrael and came back, and the Maggid already followed Rebbe Nachman from before his trip to the Holy Land in the time of the Napoleonic Wars, 1799, 1800. So he was already a follower of Rebbe Nachman before 1798, that means. So, Rebbe Nachman came back very discreetly, quietly. He didn't want to make noise. And he passed by on the way back to Ukraine. We were arriving. He passed by a city called Kaniblad, which is where the Maggid of Terovitza also lived and also was a Maggid over. And a follower of the Maggid saw Rebbe Nachman in the wagon, and he started to freak out. Rebbe Nachman said, shh, and he told him, come here. He says, quietly, tell the Maggid to come to meet me at the bridge. I don't want to enter the city, passing by. Tell him to come by, and I'm waiting for him. So the chassid went running like crazy, and he came to the Maggid of Terovitza, it was like a summer day, so it was hot. The Maggid was schmoozing with somebody outdoors, without his hat, and just wearing a bekeshe without a belt, okay? And he was sitting talking with somebody, and the chassid came panting, and he said to him, Rebbe Nachman is here. He said to him to meet him outside of the city by the bridge. So the Maggid freaked out, and he said, whoa! And he said, quick, harness my wagon and the horses, and I'll start on foot already. You catch up to me. I'm starting to run. He was over 70, maybe already 80, in his mid 70s, and he started running. And he's an older man, and he's running and running. And in the meantime, the chassid is trying to set up the horses and the wagon and everything, and he couldn't catch up to him. By the time he arrived at the wagon and horses, the Maggid had already caught up to Rebbe Nachman and was waiting for him. So Reb Noson wrote, I wrote this story to show how strong people had emunah and tzaddikim, and to what extent they went to travel to make an effort to see tzaddikim. Like the Maggid, he's over 70. He hears Rebbe Nachman just arrived. He's an older man. He's an older man. It's like back 70 back then. It's not like it's like now in a way. People are weak, and he ran. He forgot everything, and he ran without a hat, without anything. And he's like a respectable rabbi. When you're running without a hat, and your bekesh is open a little, but he didn't care, because he knew that this is more important. To see the face of Rebbe Nachman for him was worth everything, and to push everything aside. So these people had a feel of tzaddikim, and they what did they feel? They saw mamash the Shekhinah, the divine presence, and that's what Rebbe Nachman teaches, that the month of Nisan is a special time that every Jew in the world can feel the light of the tzaddikim. Again, there's levels, dependent on how close you are to the tzaddikim. Reb Noson, his whole life was this. Reb Noson, he told Rebbe Nachman said to him once, I caught you in my sack. I caught you in my bag. So Reb Noson said, hold me tight that I should not leave. I should not escape. Keep me in, hold me tight in your sack that I should never leave. Reb Noson, he could have become on his own an accomplished Torah scholar, a businessman, everything. He had everything going for him, but because he didn't feel the Shekhinah in his life, he didn't feel connection to God like he saw in the older chassidim, that made him drop everything for that sake. And when he discovered Rebbe Nachman, he felt, I found an address. I found light in my life, and he dedicated everything, his whole life, to spread this light. Like we're going to see in this letter, as we continue this letter, what Reb Noson saw in Rebbe Nachman, that he was Moser Nefesh. He literally made self-sacrifice. People wanted to kill him. The opposition, they wanted to kill him for what he was doing, and he was all alone. Even the other Breslev chassidim didn't know what he was doing. He said, what are you doing? What? And he was paving a way, and that led to what we have today. That we have this movement called Breslev, no physical Rebbe, yet Rebbe Nachman is alive in his teachings, in his kever and uman. The followers who follow the teachings, they're shining this powerful light. Okay, this is what Rebbe Noson saw, and he gave everything for it. So with that introduction, let's now continue with where we're holding in the letter. Okay, again, reminder: he's strengthening his disciple Rebbe Ephraim for the greatness of the support of what he's doing, and now he's asking Hashem, Rebbe Noson, in the letter, that we need help. We need if there's no divine assistance, we can't continue. So he's quoting a few psukim. I just want to go back quickly, and then we'll get to where we're holding today. So he said like this: Einenu teliot el Hashem, our eyes are hanging to Hashem. And again, these verses that we went into already last week in the last classes, Shlach orcha v'amitecha v'chul. It's a pasuk from Psalms. Send your light and your truth in order to guide us. We went into this. And last week's class, V'kovei Hashem yachalifu koach, and those who hope in Hashem, they'll have renewed strength, etc. And then he goes on like this: Vasher lo hakoach v'memshala v'chule, and he, Hashem, who has the strength and the authority, etc. Yiten layaef koach ule'ein onim otzma yarbe. He should give to those who are tired strength. Ule'ein onim, and those who don't have the means, otzma, power yarbe. Let's go into this verse. This verse is from the same chapter of the previous verse. It's 2 verses before. So we're talking about Isaiah chapter 40, verse 29. And the verse that we quoted in the last class, V'kovei Hashem, is verse 31. So 2 verses earlier, the verse has something interesting here from the Targum and the Malbim. Let's take a look at both places. So the verse reads, okay, like noten layayef koach ol ein onim otzma yarbeh. We just explained it. Let's see the Targum. Targum is very amazing. So it goes like this, the Targum. Dihav litzadikaya dimshalhan lefit game oraita chuchma. Wow. The one who gives to the tzaddikim who are drained in fulfilling the Torah, wisdom. In other words, the wisdom is what gives the tzaddikim who are drained and exhausted strength to follow the pitgame oraita, the words of the Torah, the commands of the Torah. Tzaddikim were exhausted for whatever reason from the battle of the Yetzer Hara. It's exhausting, and Hashem is the one who gives to the tzaddikim who are weak and drained in fulfilling the Torah chokhmah. The chokhmah that Hashem gives them is enough to give them strength. There's something phenomenal that when a person activates, a person could be wasted and drained and in pain and suffering, but when Hashem opens his eyes to a revelation of Torah, all of a sudden it brings a person back to life. It's something phenomenal. Rebbe Nachman Borstein, alav hashalom, I remember him. He was a Breslov elder from the previous generation. So he was a bit sick. He was weak. Whatever he had issues. He passed away from a stroke. By repercussions from a stroke. But even until the end, when he was asked to come to speak, he would go everywhere that he was invited to speak, and to go and speak. So once he was invited to speak. I think it was in a big park in Yerushalayim called Gan Saker. He was in Gan Saker, and it was like outdoors for, I guess, a more modern crowd. And he was very weak and drained, and his family and students said, "What are you doing?" He said, "They asked me to come. I can't say no. I'm now going as a messenger for Rebbe Nachman. When people come to ask me to speak, I must go, because I'm doing this for the Rebbe, not for me. I'm doing it for Rabbeinu." So he was weak and everything. He came, and all of a sudden he started speaking about Rebbe Nachman. It brought him back to life. They couldn't believe it. He was like panting and he was drained in the beginning, but as soon as he opened his mouth and he started speaking about Rebbe Nachman, he forgot about everything and he had energy. So it's something really fascinating. Another fascinating point, that a person could be drained in everything. When a piece of chokhmah comes his way, it brings him back to life. That's what the Targum is saying here. The chokhmah is what gives them the mishalhim. They're like drained and exhausted. It gives them strength. That's what gives them strength. Their strength doesn't come, oh, let's take this medication, take this vitamin, do this type of treatment and everything. That's the excuse. That's like the physical hishtadlut. What really brings a person who's weak and drained back to life is the chokhmah, a revelation of chokhmah in the Torah. Okay? Udeleit lehon tkof. That's now the second part of the verse. Ule'ein onim otzma yarbeh. Udeleit lehon tkof. And those who don't have power, nichsin masgeh. They'll give them. Hashem will give them wealth, physical nechasim, wealth. That the one who doesn't have power, Hashem nichsin masgeh. That's Hashem, okay? So now, the Malbim adds something beautiful to Otzma. Otzma Yarbeh. Look at this verse. This is again, chapter 40, verse 29 in the Malbim. The Malbim says like this, the word Otzma. Otzma is he has a different perspective on this verse. Here we go. Okay. Layayef koach. He gives strength to those who are exhausted. Hua koach hapnimi hashorshi. This is inner strength. Ule'en onim chaser kelim. Someone who's lacking the vessels. Shebo yotzi koach lachutz. So Hashem gives the inner strength, the potential strength, and also actual. So en onim means the person doesn't have the vessels in his body to bring out the inner strength inside, right? Like someone who has very weak limbs, very like weak and delicate limbs that he may have energy and power inside, but the body can't express it. It's the limbs are too weak and delicate to express that power. Otzma yarbe. Otzem, the Malgim says, hu chozek ha'evarim ve'atzamot. It's the strength of the limbs and the bones. So he says the word otzma is connected to the words for bones. Etzem. Unbelievable. Ulein onim otzma yarbe. It's connected to the blessing of Yisachar. Yisachar got a blessing, I think from Moshe Rabbeinu, or from, I think it's Moshe Rabbeinu's blessing, or Yaakov's blessing, or in Vayechi, or in Vezot HaBracha. Yisachar chamor garem. Yisachar is compared to a donkey who has heavy bones. Heavy bones. Chamor garem. Garem is bones. A very strong, bony donkey. Because in other words, the Yisachar were the tzaddikim who didn't sleep day, didn't sleep night, and they just travel from place to place teaching Torah. So they have strong donkeys. So they're compared to the strong donkeys with strong bones. So the Targum translates strong bones of a donkey, atir benichsin, wealthy in property. That he owns a lot, he has a lot of wealth. So wealth and bones, the Malbim connects, and also the Targum on that verse by Yisachar. So Reb Noson is quoting this verse here. Okay? That Hashem, our eyes are turned to Hashem, the one who has koach and memshala, the Hashem who has strength and rulership. He should give to the weary strength. Ule'ein onim, the person who is weak, otzma yarbeh, Hashem should give him a lot of power. Like the Malbim says, the power in the bones, okay? So Reb Noson here is revealing that he has a weakness, if it's physical, if it's spiritual, which is really the case. And he's saying the only solution for a person to get strength is he has to daven. You have to turn to Hashem. You must turn to Hashem. When you're weary and drained, you have to turn to Hashem until He opens up the opening for you. The opening of the Chokhmah, like we saw in the Targum, okay? And also the wealth. Everything is from Hashem. That's what he's saying here. He should give to the weary power and strength, like we said. So now, the question is, why is Reb Noson drained? What in the world is going on? But he also wants to say, why does he need such strength? Why does he need such power? Reb Noson is 64 years old. He passed away a year later. He was already getting sick and drained. He had colitis, like we said, suffering for many years from stomach issues that made him very weak and drained, okay? But Reb Noson was able not to waste a single second of his life. He was always doing and doing and doing and doing. And he's asking, Hashem, give me the strength. For what? So he says now, L'hatchil v'ligmor, to begin and to finish. Kol yameinu, all of our days. Melechet shamayim, the work of heaven. The work of heaven, which is, in his perspective, spreading and teaching Rebbe Nachman's teachings, printing the books, writing insights. We should begin and complete all our days, okay? All our days. And Reb Noson was able to do that for the majority of his life. He was writing the Likutei Halachot, without a doubt, for 40 years. It was over 40 years that Reb Noson was writing. He wrote that book, this beautiful 8-volume giant mega set called the Likutei Halachot, 40 years of his life. The last 40 years were involved in writing his insights on Rebbe Nachman's teachings. He invested a lot, okay? So he's saying we should begin and complete all our days the work of heaven. Zchut harabim kazeh, such a merit for the many, for the people as this. There's a big thing in life that you can serve Hashem for your own personal benefit. Fine, so you go to heaven, you get rewarded for the personal benefit. You did your chatzot, you did your learning Torah study, you're working on your midot, you did yourself to help yourself to become a better Jew. So yes, you get rewarded. But there's something greater when you're willing to forego your personal growth to help other people. You're willing to stint. You can say, yeah, but I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to do this. And yet, you know that you're taking away from your ability to help other people, and you know you have the charisma and the power to help other people. You're willing to forego on your personal growth, not to make yourself hefker, not to say, okay, I give myself over totally, so therefore I don't put on tefillin, I don't daven, I don't keep Shabbat. No, we didn't say that. You do, You do the minimum, the halachic requirements, of course. But what you could have advanced on your personal level, you push that aside in order to help other people. Okay? It's called Zchut HaRabim. Reb Noson saw his mission, and in fact, Rebbe Nachman entrusted Reb Noson with the mission to mekarev, kiruv, to draw people close to Hashem, to speak to people, to do outreach. Rebbe Nachman gave him that tikkun. They say each of Rebbe Nachman's closest 7 students, each one was given a specific rectification from Rebbe Nachman. Like for example, Shmuel Isaac had received from Rebbe Nachman the power to rectify the souls of the dead. Rav Yudol, the student of Rebbe Nachman, had the power from Rebbe Nachman to do pidionot. He did a pidion when a person needed to do a pidion. And they say Reb Noson that he received from Rebbe Nachman the power and the ability to teach other people and to draw people close to Hashem. That was his mission. And that's the main thing, of course. That's the main avodah, and why the continuity of Rebbe Nachman's light is specifically through Reb Noson till today. Nothing remains from the other students of Rebbe Nachman who didn't bend to Reb Noson. They didn't join Reb Noson's following because they were older. You can't expect that from them. But the next generation did follow Reb Noson, Baruch Hashem, because of his ability to teach. So he's saying, Reb Noson, I need strength to do what I'm doing. Latchil veligmor kol yameinu, because he saw that, he's saying all his life, because he saw that as long as he would live, it still won't be enough to do in spreading Rebbe Nachman's light and teaching, because there's so much to do. We see that today. I mean, with the vessels of technology, especially internet, the ability to give classes online, WhatsApp, whatever, and the demand is so crazy. People all over the world, because it's more access to people, are just thirsty for Torah, thirsty for Rebbe Nachman's teachings, and there's so few people who are quote-unquote valid enough to give over properly, quote-unquote, Rebbe Nachman's light and teachings. Okay, there's a lot of distortion out there also, unfortunately, but the ability to give, there is, but there's so much to do. So he's saying again, such a merit for the mass, and he again is specifically referring to the printing of his book, the Likutei Halachot, which is what this letter is surrounding on, the printing of Reb Noson's Likutei Halachot. And now he says something very profound from his inside, and he's not revealing to us what exactly it is. He says like this: Hashem Yitbarach Yodea Kavanati Letova. Hashem, blessed be He, knows my intentions Letova, for the good. Hashem knows my good intentions in whatever I'm doing. Ubevadai Eini Shogeh Chas v'Shalom Bazeh Klal. And definitely, he's so confident in what he's doing, even though it's not like today that we're after. Reb Noson was paving the way, and it's something very strong. I just have to remind a cartoon that came out a long time ago from Mad Magazine, a very funny cartoon, that there was a guy, he was fed up of being stuck in traffic every day. Traffic to get to work, from home to work, every day, the traffic. And he said, you know what? I want to invent a thing to attach to the front of my car that I press the button and immediately it creates pavement and dries it up instantly, so that my car can drive on the new pavement to make a new road, to go off the highway and to make a new road on the grass where I can go. So he developed this thing that like a roll in the front of his car, and next time he was in traffic, so he pressed the button and he went off the highway and it started making a new paved road. Okay, and it kept on going, and he was excited, but then the material stopped. They had no more of the liquid that made the pavement for the road. So his child was in the car. He said, what do we do now? He said, I don't know. And they looked behind them, and there was a whole row of cars that followed them. They made the new highway, the new road, and all these cars behind them. What about you? Well, look at the guys behind us now. So the idea is also, when you create a new pathway, which what Noson is doing, so automatically people join in. And you got to make sure you don't stop. You don't make a dead end. So Noson was really sticking his neck out to support Rebbe Nachman's teachings in a time when there was nothing, there was a wilderness. He had to create a new opening. He had to make something that wasn't there to make it. And it's not easy. And once you make it, then it's like a road, it's a paved road, and people follow. So Reb Noson is saying, "Ubevadai eni shogeh chas v'shalom bazeh klal," and definitely I am not making an error, chas v'shalom, in this at all. What? Ma shani kosef lechol zeh v'chuleh. That which I yearn for all this to happen, etc. What's this? Again, everything he was doing, especially now the printing of Rebbe Nachman's books, the printing of his insights, okay, maintaining, building the klois for the Uman Rosh Hashanah gathering, going around strengthening the chassidim. There's no Rebbe, so they stick out totally, 100%. Other Chassidic groups that had a leading Rebbe. Who's your leader? Reb Noson, you're claiming not to be the leader. You say Rebbe Nachman's the leader, but he's not here. So you're sticking out, doing something which is really quote unquote nuts. And Reb Noson is saying, I am definitely not mistaken at all in what I'm doing. And look at his wording. He didn't say in what I'm doing. He said in what I'm yearning to do. His wording was unbelievable. He said, and definitely I'm not making a mistake at all, chas v'shalom, in this at all. That in which I am yearning for all of this, to bring Rebbe Nachman's light out, even though there was no explicit clarification. Take a look at the book Through Fire and Water, and you'll see that after Rebbe Nachman passed away, Reb Noson himself didn't know what to do. He was so broken with the passing of Rebbe Nachman, he had no idea what's going to be now. Because again, this is the first time in history this is happening. And it wasn't so clear. Rebbe Nachman couldn't tell explicitly to Reb Noson what's going to be, even though he knew. But he couldn't tell him details of important issues of what's going to be now your work and how things are going to move. He revealed to him what's called Megillat Setarim, the secrets before Mashiach comes. That's on a general level from Yisrael. But what Reb Noson's mission and job, Rabbi Nachman could only hint to him. Reb Noson said only 40 years later did he grab what Rabbi Nachman meant. 40 years later, he began to understand more developed the ideas that he heard from Rabbi Nachman 40 years earlier. Now it was coming clearer. All the ideas were coming clearer towards the end of Reb Noson's life. Okay, but the Reb Noson was really sticking himself out to do this, to start something totally new. That's why there was so much opposition. Okay, and he's saying, I am definitely not making a mistake, and that I yearn for this to happen, because Reb Noson teaches again and again, your main weapon to get things happening in life is your yearning. Oh, you don't try hard enough. You don't try enough. I agree. I don't try hard enough. I don't try enough to quit smoking, to stop drug abuse, overeating. I agree. So they ask you. So then, what value are you? You have no worth if you can't do it. My value is my yearning. My key for everything else is my kosef, that I yearn for this, and that's my main weapon. And as long as I don't yearn enough, nothing will happen in life. The yearning is the key. That you see other people, I don't know, Tony Robbins and people like that successful, you have to realize sometimes it's the gift from Hashem, that Hashem gave them this gift. And they blame you, they make you feel like you can also, and you say, but it's not happening. Why? Because other some people get a gift. They don't admit to it, they don't realize it, or they don't admit to it, but they have a gift. Hashem gave them a gift, and I don't have that gift. So don't start running and making me feel guilty that I can't make it also, I can't do it also. My weapon, Rebbe Nachman teaches, is kisufin, and you have to keep on yearning and yearning and yearning and yearning and yearning until you break the obstacles. And they don't let you, you have to keep on yearning. That's the biggest weapon, the biggest gift that you have in life is nichsefa, kisufin, yearning. And that's what Noson is saying. I don't doubt, I'm not making a mistake at all in that I yearn for this zchut harabim that he said, the merit of the collective unit of Am Yisrael, the merit of the many to produce teachings and works that will benefit mankind, the Jewish world at large, plus mankind. This is where Rebbe Noson is saying, I don't regret at all that I yearn for this to happen, because this is the way. And again, stop what you're doing, work on yourself, take care of yourself. Rebbe Noson said, I do my part, but I can't just let Am Yisrael drown. I can't let the rest of the world just drown. When I have access to such teachings that can help other people, I have to be available to give the accessibility to other people for that. And that's what Rebbe Noson is saying here. That's what he did. Fine. We'll stop here. Okay? Like just the next word, which we'll go into next class, he says, Ach, kashal koach hasabal. However, we'll go into, it's a verse. It's another verse from Nehemiah, believe it or not. We'll go into this verse in the next class, hopefully. Kashal koach hasabal. However, it's broken the strength of how much I can endure anymore. So we'll go into Reb Noson's continuation, but there's only up. Reb Noson brings a difficulty, but always there's hope. He doesn't ever leave us hanging at a dead end. That's the beauty of Breslov, the beauty of Rebbe Nachman's teachings. The beauty of Reb Noson is that he always gives a final message of hope that you have what to do to make your situation better, and it's not beyond your reach. It's within your reach, no matter how low it is. And even if you fall, okay, you fall. The thing is to get back up. You don't just keep on falling and falling and falling. You fall and you hit a ground, rock bottom, or a cliff, wherever in the middle. You fall on a ledge before falling more, and then you have a chance to breathe and to recollect, or to say, forget it, I'm just wasted. But they give you a chance from heaven to wake up. Plus, if you have the merit to be close to tzaddikim, the tzaddikim don't let you give up. You hear this? This is something amazing. If you work investing and coming close to the tzaddikim, like we said in the beginning of the class, the tzaddikim are always there pushing you not to give up. They send you subconscious ideas, Morse code, not to give up. Okay, we'll stop here. Continuing, we don't know when we'll continue, maybe next week or after Pesach, I don't know. But like we say in all the classes lately, if you want to just say hi, reach out, feedback to the classes, or any questions, whatever, please feel free to reach out to me by WhatsApp only, private message on WhatsApp only. The number is +1 732 800 1863. Once again, it's an American number, +1 732 800 1863. We should have an amazing Rosh Chodesh Nisan. We should be brought back to life. We should see the investment of Purim that we did. We should see it in this Pesach, in this month of Nisan. We should be protected from any trace of chametz, whether it's the physical chametz, whether it's the chametz in the mind, the chametz of the mind and of the heart, the fermentation of bad thoughts that are just making us negative always, to get that out of our system, to be totally cleaned, to have a healing, asvata, from the matzah, both physical healing and a spiritual healing. And we should be zocher to have the Geula. We should have the Geula come very soon, and all our yearning should come to fruition, B'ezrat Hashem. Shalom, an amazing week, and be in touch. Be well. Shalom, shalom.